Welcome into the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We're live on Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. And if you don't catch us live, well, you're not out of luck. You can download us wherever you get your pods. And here we go. You know, guys, the game wasn't over Saturday night. Maybe 5 minutes. I get a dozen texts. Okay, I can't wait for your Monday show. And then I replied to all of them, I may take the day off.
Yeah. I've had 10 versions of today's show with other people off air. People have opinions for sure, and the game gave them plenty of reason to have those opinions.
As we'll have our opinion here, and we'll let it breathe here for just a split second, because there's a lot of places that we're going to go in our Leaf edition of the of our hour. But before we break down anything, let me just ask you guys, in terms of the temperature out there, that, you know, for Leaf Nation, this feeling they should be kind of used to, right?
Well, it's not good.
If you look at the past 5, 6, 7 years, it's not an uncommon thing to be behind or feel disappointed. Why does this one feel a little bit different? And in terms of, on a scale to 1 to 10, where do you have the venom out there? I'll start with you, JB.
I mean, it's white hot, glass blowing, incinerator. It's hot. It's hot as it's ever been since I've been in Toronto. And the venom is, there's plenty to go around. There's a lot of people who are, frustration seems gone at this point.
They've lost.
It's much harsher than
Sammy.
that.
They've lost to Montreal. They've lost to Columbus. They've lost to Tampa. They've lost to Boston. Yeah. They're on the edge or on the brinks of losing to Boston again. Is this different from any of the past?
I think it's just all those things that you just laid out there. I think it's just the accumulation of heartbreak and accumulation of frustration, and having it look so similar with all the same guys so many times.
Just how we play.
It's just
soft.
Yeah. It's not really like, it's hard to, definition of insanity. It's one of the most favorite sayings, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And you've gotten insanity out of the fan base. Everybody's just sick of watching the same game over and over in big spots. That's what it comes down to.
Have some crossed the line, though, just in terms of, like, I get fair analysis, I get fair criticism, but with some, it's just so much more personal. And I'm just wondering, like, at some point, when do we go, like, what are we doing here?
Are you driving at Mitch talk?
Mitch, all of them. All of them. And yeah, Mitch is at the top.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah. Mitch is at the top, and he deserves his share of criticism for not producing, but it's going to go around. It's
for sure.
It's just starting at Mitch. They lose in Game 5. They're all going down that path.
I think it's similar to how when they make it to the second round last year, and they play so poorly there that it almost discredited the first round, that people pretend that the first round didn't happen. Hold on. They pretend that first round didn't happen. This is not another disappointment necessarily for Leafs fans. It's how it's happening, I think, that's making it so much harder, that it's exactly the same, and they're not even close, and it's the Stars again. It's just amplifying things.
Yeah. And I don't think, it's exactly right. Like, there's not much more that you can say other than what you just laid out there. It's just, it's the same thing over and over, and people are extremely sick of watching the same bad TV show over and over and over.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch this rerun anymore. You like watching reruns because that's what you're watching, the rerun.
This one's just gone to another level in terms of, I don't know what the word I can use other
Vitriol?
than... Sorry?
Vitriol?
Weird. Weird that... everything seems to be fine after game 82. Willie Nylander disappears for 3. And then game 4, Austin Matthews disappears for the third period. Like, weird stuff, guys. That's the only thing I could say.
It's
weird.
Really, it is weird. I wrote today for Sportsnet.ca one of my criticisms of this team. And, I hear people, and I found myself watching that game going, God, it's so unfortunate that they don't have these guys at their best to tell if it could work. And then the longer I sat and thought about it, it's just like, you know what? This is the problem with it all, that if one of the core four has a bruise, the top-heavy plan doesn't work. It's too fragile a way to construct a team for me. And that's how I felt, okay, Matthews is sick and can't be his best. Well, they can't win then. It's like the other, you watch Vancouver's playing with their third-string goaltender, and you would look around the league and see other teams overcoming adversity. But when you're so heavily, your power is all held in a few people and it falls apart.
But it was feeling better with the Camps of the world and the McMahon, and I know he's hurt now, but, that support of Bertuzzi and Domi, like this was different. This was supposed to be different. It wasn't supposed to be heavy for those stars. The only thing I could say to compare that to is if Pasternak and Marchand don't show up, Boston's toast too, aren't they really, or no?
I don't know. It doesn't feel the same.
I think they are. I mean, you look at what Marchand's doing to the Leafs in those 2 games at Scotiabank Arena. Mm-hmm. He's the catalyst. He's got 8 points, doesn't he, through 4 games against, that's what's hard for a lot of Leaf fans too, is seeing the captain and the best player on the other side sort of show up and have your guys not do it. It's all bad. There hasn't been a lot of positives.
You're pushing towards something here. What is it?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm just saying at the end of the day that old cliche that's been around for 100 years, your best players have to be your best, or, it's probably the number one cliche you need this time of year.
Our guy Sean McIndoe wrote a good article just about how, there's a part of this that is like overthinking it, where it's just like, nothing about us should have felt that the Bruins or the Leafs are a better team than the Bruins. Like they have just beat them more consistently, more often. They did it for last 6 games. They're a better hockey team. It's not some moral failing on the part of anyone so much as it's a better team.
The difference for me now is that, like, when you see a star player go down and he's hurt and he's out for the rest of the game, and they come out and they say, no update or upper body or lower body, we can kind of connect the dots. Mm-hmm. This one with Nylander and Matthews is the one that I think is driving everybody nuts. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's like, it's one thing that you don't want to reveal anything, and I understand it to a certain extent, but this one doesn't match up with all the rest of the hidden stuff over the years, over the playoffs. This is a disappearance act that has nothing behind it to even alleviate what people want to think. And that's part of the issue here. And I talked about this a little bit on Friday, is that if you don't come out with anything, then all Leaf fans have to go on is one guy doesn't want to play because he's got a headache, and the other guy doesn't want to play because he has a tummy ache. And until you come out and tell us it's more significant than that, that's all you have to go on. Yeah,
and I guess to them it's a matter of prioritizing. Do they care about winning the PR war, or are they focusing on winning the hockey games? And, no teams have ever been upfront in the postseason about injury. So to me, it's...
But you're getting killed on both sides right now.
They're getting killed.
But it's not like it's, with the Matthews one, I guess they don't want to say if it's COVID or something, if he's going to spread it to the rest of the team or the other player. I don't know if that's what it is.
Buddy, say it then, because he's out anyways.
But I do think Sam's right. If it is that, then he's been around the team, and do they say, okay, now we got to...
But it's different if he gets slashed on the wrist, like you said, and it's like, oh, well, we're not want to tell you exactly what it is. When you leave sick, you play 2 periods, you're gone, and then they won't tell you what it is.
But the thing is, guys, they've told us he's sick. What do you need to hear? The symptoms?
Well, listen, for me personally, okay, I'd rather throw up on the bench in front of 20,000 people than just disappear, okay? Austin Matthews at 50%, Austin at 40%, is better than anything better than anyone else's 100%. He's that good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, but stay on the bench. If you can't play, then give me a power play. Give me something. But just disappearing like that, it doesn't fly this time of year for the Leaf fans. It doesn't.
But it doesn't fly in terms of whatever this like PR war you're trying to win. Like if they are talking about this guy is not well, we got him hooked up to an IV for, liquid in the room. We're trying to give him all this stuff. He needs rest.
Why can Tyler Myers come out with the flu in Vancouver and these guys can't?
But see, this thing about like trying to compare the things, we don't even know. We don't know what's happening with these guys, which I understand there's frustration there, but I just don't see why we're owed it.
So the only thing they're left for the conclusion is when the going gets tough, this guy can't play.
It's a conclusion till it's going to be. It's a conclusion drawn on whatever fantasy you're creating in your head, and they're going to give us the conclusion when they lose, whenever that may be. They're going to say, "Here's what happened."
And when they come out and say, "Hey, he's had a bad flu or had food poisoning," which I don't think really lasts 6 days, but.
Right. Yeah,
whatever it is, then they're going to go, oh, okay, well, yeah, that explains it.
That happens all the time in playoffs, yes. That happens all the time. After the series, you go, oh, he was playing with this or he was playing with that. That makes sense for why he couldn't do whatever. I'm not saying he's going to be validated in any of this. It's such an unimportant detail of this whole collapse that they're having is us not knowing what it is. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand we care.
I think it just fits. I think kind of what Kyper's getting at, and I feel it, is it just kind of gets at the perception of this team, right? And like people have these perceptions in their mind of what this team is. People call them soft all the time. People say they don't have the same dog in them that these other teams do, that Marchand does, that all these teams that beat them do. So that when a guy's missing games with a mystery migraine or whatever it is, no one explains it. When one of the best players in the world doesn't play the third period because he's sick, everyone just goes back to their preconceived.
For sure, the previous stuff feeds that.
Exactly.
And I get that.
And that's why people get pissed off about it. And that's why it's easy for them to get dunked on and easy for all this stuff to be said, because it's just they've lacked the killer instinct the entire time they've been around. Yeah. And then this stuff happens and it just piles on top.
It makes it worse.
It does.
And I want to say, I don't necessarily know that they're going to be vindicated when they come out and say he had XYZ. There's a chance that I may come in here the next day and say, God, that was it? You can't play through that in that big moment. I still think that's up for grabs. Till we get there, I don't know. We're just doing the same thing everyone else does.
Sheldon said he felt better today and he's going to make the trip and they're hopeful he plays.
I'm very confident he will, but.
I mean, they practiced today like he wasn't going to.
They did.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for our first Kyper's Clipper. Clip 9, Derek, on Austin Matthews.
Not much update there. He's luckily, again, we've got a couple of days here, and we thought the last couple of days would help us, but it's, for whatever reason, it's not one of those run-of-the-mill, everyday type of illnesses that sort of come and go. This one has lingered, and the effects have lingered and have gotten worse when he's getting on the ice and asserting himself. So we've just got to manage that and give him the time that he needs. And obviously, we're hopeful that it'll turn.
And if you want to follow that up with the update from today, too, there's clip 12 from Keefe today.
Of course, we're hopeful that he's available and feeling good and back to himself. So, that's what we're hopeful for. But, we've played well with guys out in the past. Obviously, we started the series without Willie and had to deal with that. And so, in the regular season, same kind of thing. But we'll see what tomorrow brings.
I do think that if there's criticism to come from this, a very real criticism is the thing we talked about, is that they didn't rest anyone down the stretch. Every time the team has had the chance to pursue an individual goal over what would have been better for the team, the team pursued the individual goal. Nylander plays 82. Maybe that hit gives him the migraines that he takes.
Maybe something after that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe traveling. Matthews picks up something. We don't know. But, preferred to see the guys resting in games 81, 82.
All right. Hot button topic number 2 on a Saturday night, the disagreement on the bench. You want to go to some sound first, or you want to give us your thoughts, JB?
What do you think?
I think it's so that this happens a lot in the playoffs. And we remember last year, was it last year or the year they won the Cup? McKinnon's and Bednar literally screaming at each other in their face and all that stuff. And I think it's just so stark for Leaf fans to see this happen, because usually in these big moments, these four guys are just sitting there glass-faced, not doing anything, kind of staring off into space and this sort of look to them. To have them screaming at each other. This is why it's such a huge story, because they're screaming at each other. It's the first time it's ever happened.
It's not a look. We've seen Marner, and again, Marner criticized for throwing his gloves. Me personally, don't like that. Don't think it is helpful. Don't think that, that level of frustration's great, but he's the only one that over the years has shown that type of emotion. Say what you will, positive, negative, immature, not immature. I don't care. Yeah. He's the only one that showed that. You couldn't get anything out of the other two guys over the last 7 years. So this one I found real interesting, that it included Matthews and Nylander. Did it start from Sheldon Keefe giving something into Matthews' ear, and then that got passed on? My understanding, and most often than not, when you see disagreements like this on the bench, go back to Gretzky and Messier, because they had their share of them too, is off of a broken play. So my understanding was that it was off of a face-off, and Mitch and Austin weren't real thrilled with Nylander off a face-off, and that's where I think it stemmed from.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but I like it. I like it. I'm not on board that this is some like sign of like dissension. The guys actually were really good in their interviews after about it, but yeah, we see guys going at each other. If it's the Golden Knights doing this, you're going, look at the standard they hold each other to, one another to. We're always going, who's going to grab someone in that room? You'd rather them tell each other, man, you got it. We need you here. And maybe you don't like how it plays out or how the display of emotion goes. That's kind of a personal thing, but better out than in, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, the whole time the Penguins won their second cup, Kessel and Malkin were MFing each other the entire game. Like they were screaming at each other every shift.
Yeah.
That
one for me is not a...
I thought it was like something that just you never see here, and I think that's why it was such a big deal. I truly do, and I really didn't think it was that huge of a deal, but people did. So,
do you want to go to Keefe?
Yeah, I do.
On the bench disagreement.
Yeah.
I look at it as something that happens when things aren't going well, and in the past, quite honestly, those that wouldn't have happened. Guys wouldn't have talked it out, wouldn't have, if you want to call it arguing it out, that wouldn't have happened. I look at that as progress, and those guys care. I don't look at it as frustration. I look at them being upset and pissed off that they didn't deliver for the team, and they're pushing and challenging each other to get it right. And probably the better thing for me is the remainder of the game, the next opportunities that we had, the 6-on-5, all these things. They're working together. They're talking about it. They're making a plan. They're talking in the intermissions. So these guys have been together a long time, and they're pushing and challenging each other to get it right. And they know how important they are to the team. When they're not delivering, they recognize it.
This team literally brought in people to be more vocal in the dressing room, right? It's like that was part of the appeal of Joe Thornton, is he's someone. Yeah, Reeves, a
quiet
guy.
room.
Right, it's quiet room. That's what Free Living said when he came here. So they're striving for this. And pick it apart as you may.
Hated the glove throw, though. I did hate that. And I know Kyper, but I thought that was... It just made it look so...
He's broken sticks, too, and he's just... listen,
I hate that look.
I'm not a fan of it either.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's just, to me, it's like watching a goalie break his stick over the crossbar. It's wasted emotion.
Don't let him show you... Was it the don't let him see you bleed, Kyper?
Never let him see you sweat.
Yeah, or
now,
bleed, I guess.
It's one thing if the three of them are just challenging each other to be better. And it's another thing to say, okay, what we're doing isn't working. And that's the only thing, is that for me is where's the extension on that disagreement? Is it an X and O's thing? Because what I'm watching Saturday night, to me, a lot of it is coaching. Again, I see an organized Boston Bruin team that has purpose, that have rehearsed things time and time again. So when I watch them Saturday night, whether it's a breakout or a forecheck, they look like they know what they're doing, or they know what is expected. I watched the Leafs the first, minute and a half. Morgan Riley goes back for a puck, does a rim around to nobody, and Coyle goes back in for pressure in the first minute and a half. To me, so much of this has to do with what I'm seeing wrong out of them in terms of their X's and O's, their game plan. First period, they want to get it in deep. They can't get a forecheck going. Second period, they make an adjustment. They try to carry the puck in off the rush. Maybe Nylander has a few of those. Maybe one of the few times that they were able to gain entry off of a rush. And the other time I saw it was late in the third with Mitch Marner. His goal was controlled entry off a rush. Other than that, they can't figure out what to do.
I think we've actually gone fairly long in this show to not make the observation that was just a dog's breakfast of a hockey game. Can't remember the Leafs looking that disorganized. Offensively in particular, they had absolutely nothing going. They looked like they had never played together before. It truly was one of the worst performances in a big spot I can remember watching. People said the word pathetic on repeat about it. There was just not a breath of life to it. My take on that, Kyper, was just, the Bruins keep it pretty simple. They pack it in the neutral zone. They protect the house in front of the net, and they kind of challenge you to get through them. And the Leafs are adamant at times about the regroup and the maintaining possession. And at some point, when Boston has three guys up on the puck and says, try to get through us, you got to put it behind them and get after it. And I didn't think the Leafs were willing to do that for too long in the game. And that allowed Boston to break the puck out easy and, really keep them from getting any dangerous shots at all.
I mean, they showed that shot chart in the second intermission. It's like they couldn't get between the hash marks for
the one that they
periods.
did have there, Matthews is in the slot or whatever. He's in double coverage. And I remember it's like a dribbler. They had nothing from the inside.
All right, let's get it. Sheldon Keefe's thoughts on why they came out with what looked towards JP's comments.
Hard to say. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint that. I didn't. I'm not sure if I would say it was lack of energy. I thought that it was similar to how we came out in Game 3. Just looked a little tight. In terms of why, it's hard to pinpoint. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint. It's a low event hockey game out there both ways. So that's part of it.
Now they took quite a bit of heat from analysts. I know Kelly Rudy gave it to Mitch pretty good at one intermission. I know Bissonnette did it on TNT, leaned in pretty good. And the only thing I'll say about that criticism that I didn't agree with is, they made it about effort, that these guys need to try a little bit more. And for me, it's not effort. You can challenge chutzpah, if you like. You can challenge a lack of willingness to take some pain. I mean, these guys are trying. I just think trying in the wrong ways at time and trying differently than they do in the regular season.
I know this.
Do you think it's an effort thing?
No, I don't. I can't believe they've been through what they've been through the last 6 or 7 years, and then they're going to come out and have a lack of effort. There seems to be some sort of paralysis involved on the big stage.
I think paralysis is a great word.
I think it's a mental thing.
Yep.
So I don't know what it
Pressure.
is. How can you be this successful over the last 4 or 5 years, 100-point seasons, and then come back to Toronto and be that incapable?
One of the things I think that happens is once you're in such of a narrative pit, everyone thinks these guys can't play in the playoffs. They can't get it done. If Marner went out and Matthews went out and they both scored hat tricks in the next 3 games, their playoff stats would be worse than their regular season numbers. They can't climb out of this hole they've built. And that, to me, that just piles up the pressure, because even Mitch scores that great goal, but it's too late for people. They don't care because the narrative hole is too deep for them. And I think that puts a level of pressure on guys that they can't play like themselves. They don't seem free to perform.
Yeah, they're just, like I've mentioned before, it's just the yips. They can't.
Word.
There's just been it's happened for too long. Like it's
which means you have to do something drastic.
That's what I mean. It's if they had got over the hump a little earlier, like if, for example, they don't blow a 3-1 lead to the Habs, if they get past Columbus, if they don't lose a Game 7 in Boston in 2019, when whatever, if they get past a couple times there, they don't have this reputation that they all know they have, and that snowballs. They get by last year, and it's out of control, and they can't get through it, boys.
There's 82 regular season games, and then there's the playoffs. This team has never been built for the playoffs. It just hasn't. And you can go get your 69 goals and you can get your 100 points, but come playoff time, they take away Mitch, they take away Austin, and what are you left with?
But the thing with that, kid, well, I agree with that is a major problem. But, like, they're trying to take away McDavid in L.A., and they're trying to take away McKinnon in Colorado.
Here's the difference, though.
Winnipeg.
Those stars will go around you, and they'll also go through you.
Yes, it is the difference.
They've got stars here that they go around you, or they don't go around at all.
They go away.
Okay?
They go away.
Big difference, JB.
Huge difference.
It's not apples to apples here.
Well, it's apples to apples, and the comparison doesn't come out well to the size of their apples.
How about them apples?
Yeah, how about them apples? And that puts a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah.
So what are you left with?
Nothing.
You're left with some goaltending, some defense, and some support group. And right now, all three of them have disappeared. All of them. So to sit there and just constantly target Mitch Marner on his own like that, to me, is just, you're not looking at the big picture. They're leaking oil everywhere.
Yeah.
In net, on the blue line, you don't know who to dress. You don't know who to dress.
I know.
Okay. Liljegren, in or out. You just invested 6 years in this guy to be a top 4D, and you can't play him Saturday night.
But I think people hearing that would say, if Mitch and Austin were 4 games into this series and had 5 or 6 points each, I think it'd be a lot easier to look at the other pieces and say, God, if everything else could just help them over the hump. But the way it's built is those guys be successful, and so when they're not, you don't have a chance.
Can't win like that.
You don't have a chance.
Can't win like that.
And that may be where we're at. And that leads to shows that we're going to be doing perhaps 2 days from now about how can you win.
There's two very different conversations here. And the one conversation is, a conversation we'll have lots of time to have potentially after Tuesday night, or there's a conversation where they come back in this series or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the overarching thing is like, does it really matter if they come back? Like, I mean, if they're going to get out of the first round, everybody would be happy for a minute, but like, are they going to beat Florida? Are they going to beat the Rangers? Are they going to win 4 rounds? Like,
it would matter to answer.
It would matter. It would matter because at the end of the day, it would show
a resolve they haven't shown yet.
Just character.
Yeah.
Just character. They lack character. As a team right now, they lack character.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't disagree.
I mean, you read Luke Fox's article today. He talked about the culture difference. I know Bunk mentioned on Leafs Talk that, like,
we talked about it before the series.
The rookies.
This is where we said it before this series started. Forwards, we gave it to the Leafs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we went and then we went to culture. This is the one place Boston has them until they don't have them.
Yeah.
And they've got them right now.
I'm just looking at the point leaders in the NHL playoffs. McDavid, McCarr, Draisaitl, Marchand, Tkachuk, McKinnon, Lehkonen, Zibanejad, Hyman, Evan Bouchard. So it's like stars.
Yeah.
Stars. And it's like, it's not like it's, Dylan Holloway at the top of the list here. Like, you need your guys.
Pasternak has not had a good series statistically.
No.
Okay. But that guy just keeps playing. That guy gets hit. He's given hits, and he's taken a lot of big hits. The Leafs have punished Pasternak.
Oh, yeah.
But this guy just shuts his mouth, and he just keeps playing.
Yeah. Again, it's so disappointing about the timing of a Matthews illness and a Nylander, whatever, it is so disappointing because it would have been fascinating to see. But again, it comes back to it doesn't matter because it's all part of the same problem that one thing goes wrong and it all falls apart. So you just can't be built that way.
So I don't know. Can I give you my honest, because I didn't listen to anything. We did Leafs talk.
You telling me this whole time you haven't been honest?
I have a.
Why do you tell me that you need to be honest now?
I didn't know if I want to do this today because it's not, the series isn't over. So I don't know if I want to do it today, but the tone of the conversation calls for it. I did Leafs talk after the game, extremely negative, and I still feel that way. I didn't listen to anything.
JB just cussed the whole time.
No, yeah, it was
one of us did.
Maybe JD.
Oh,
Anyways,
not JB. Sorry,
there's a couple blue moments, maybe. But I didn't listen to anything. I didn't read anything yesterday. I have just been sort of tunnel vision coming into this. I woke up yesterday with almost a sense of relief, almost a sense of bit of free, that it's like I've been lying to myself for 8 years here now. I've been convincing myself for 8 years that this core was going to be the one that, like, God forbid, let me see the one thing that would matter to me the most outside of family and friends, the Leafs winning a cup. And that game on Saturday night, and hey, play this, they come back and win, make me look like an idiot, nothing would make me happier. That game on Saturday night told me everything. I have never been more upset, disgusted watching the first 2 periods of a hockey game, a must-win game. I almost felt free. I was like, well, they can't run this back again because, boy, I'll never watch it. I'm quitting, boys. Like, if they're like, well, we're going to give one, Pelly's like, one more kick at the can, boys. I'm like, well, real Kyper and Bourne, no McKee. Everybody will be happy. Because I'll be moving to a
We're not letting
cabin.
you leave.
I'll move to a cabin. I won't watch one game.
That it's a fair point that I think that, and we're going to have plenty of time for those kind of conversations, but they would have a tough time selling the Maple Leafs without major changes. They'll have a tough time continuing to.
You guys may be right in where this inevitably goes.
Yeah.
But if they were to win tomorrow night and bring it back,
I don't want it.
I'm telling you that they've
let the record show. I've already bet on them to win.
They've done it before. Like every time you completely write them off, they do hold on.
I have put my money on.
Okay, they do. So don't be overly shocked. It's not probable, but it's not impossible with these guys.
Nope.
Every win that they have in the next however many days just gets them further and further away from what needs to happen. So, to me, it's like, well, maybe you win game 5. Oh, and they come back to and can I remind you what their record is in home games?
We're gonna have weeks for that conversation. I ain't doing it right now.
Well, they'll come back for game 6, and they've got 6 straight losses, 1-8 in their last 9 games, 4-12 since the Habs series, 5-14 since the bubble. Listen, this is how Leaf fans are feeling, boys. I'm giving you what they're feeling. This is what I've been hearing for 48 hours.
Yeah.
People
But we're not Leafs fans.
Guys.
We're doing analysis.
I know, and I'm telling. Why do you think I'm here? I'm giving you what they're feeling.
I know
People hate these guys right now.
Yes.
Hate.
Hate's a strong word.
No, and I'm using it.
On that note, we do need to get a break in here.
We are going to take a break. We're going to get Sammy to cool down. I'm going to hose him if I have to. And then we're going to come back and talk about who starts Game 5 in Boston. Samsonov or quiet.
Oh my God. No, him. Sorry.
Okay.
That was pure coincidence.
Plenty more on this Leaf edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Back after these words. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and David Sisboomba. We'll continue the Leaf edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne
Let's
Show.
the national hour. Talk about the Canucks. Jesus.
Sammy, stay with us, buddy. Stay with us.
Mute your mic, will you?
Follow.
Let's talk.
Follow the finger. All right.
Oh, that was a hell of a win by my Canucks.
I'm thrilled.
Not easy on Willie Nylander. First of all, he was not playing particularly well going into the last few games of more than that. Probably 2 weeks, 4 weeks.
Games, yeah.
And comes in after missing the first 3 games, has to pick up the energy, the rhythm. Ended up playing, I think, the most minutes out of anybody.
Yeah.
What were your overall thoughts on Willie?
It just looked out of sorts to me. Timing was off. So much of what he does is all borderline elegant, like he just makes it look easy, and it looked challenging for him. His timing just
Was this his first shift where, like, towards the end of it, he went back towards his own blue line and he tried to do, like, his, like, patented, and he just literally spun out.
No room.
Flew the stick went flying. It was not pretty.
But no room.
Yeah.
Like how many times during the regular season, especially those first 40 or 50 games, Sweden, that this guy owned the puck.
Yeah. And he can do that, even against very good defenses.
But nobody does it this time of year.
Well, I
except
think
McCarr.
But how about him versus
so good.
Florida last year? Like, I thought Willie showed that he can do it, and it was a struggle. He looked like the only guy with a lot of jump. I understand why they played him more at the end, but hopefully, new game for them in Game 5 looks better.
Play the Willie.
Let's go to Sheldon Keefe, clip 11 on Willie.
It was good for him to get the game. I thought he got better as it wore on. He looked to me like a guy that's definitely adjusting to the series, and what's required in the series to be able to have success. And some of the things that he was looking to do aren't available. This team defends very well, and he needs to adapt to the series, but he will. We've discussed it and talked to him about it, and he was in our meetings prior to, during the series. But it's one thing to get out there and execute. Willie's a guy that knows he can make a difference and wants to make a difference. And I think he'll make adjustments going into the next game that will help him with.
And this is where he's got to go in Boston. And if there's anybody that can gain a blue line with control and entry, it's him, it's Mitch, it's Austin when they're going. But that's been far and few.
Yeah. I said, I don't think they need to gain entry so much as they need to get it in the damn zone sometimes.
I think it has a big. They are a rush team, and it's gone.
Yeah,
well,
it's gone. They need to get it back.
Team.
They are a rush team, for my opinion, anyways. That they're at their best offensively when they have controlled entries. Because they cannot dump and retrieve pucks.
You're right. They're at their best. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's hard against good teams to do that. And those guys are among the select few who can. If it's not there, though, Kip, you have to take what's there. You can't just drive into the brick wall and carry on.
But, I mean, both you guys play hockey at a high level. How do you get to the middle of the ice? How do you coach them to get to the middle of the ice? Because nothing else matters.
I've written about it for years. I wrote a whole article about Marner 4 years ago in the playoffs.
You can't beat Swayman from a step inside the blue line.
It's hard when you have no depth on the back end, and one guy that we haven't mentioned, nobody mentions, gets off scot-free right now, Morgan Riley.
100%.
Yeah.
This is Leafs. If the Leafs are going, this is our $7.5 million defenseman.
2 after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. There's no layers.
Jimmy Morgan's not been bad or good. He's just been.
But last year against Tampa, he was dynamic.
He was
maybe their best player in those 6 games. He was unbelievable.
Well, why do you think there's no talk or zero criticism for Morgan or John Tavares, who makes $11 million? Why do they get off scot-free?
No, Tavares doesn't with fans, bud.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe
the Tavares
the media,
one,
it's not as much, but he's feeling it from the fans.
The Tavares one is people have given up. They're not even, people aren't even, no one mentions to me anyway, Tavares hasn't produced
because there's no
much.
expectations.
That's right.
Bingo.
And that's in its own self sad. And you see people saying, well, if this doesn't work, they're going to trade Mitch, or, Mitch has the same trade protection John does, and if you're going to move on one guy, it should be pretty obvious who would be the first guy to talk to. He's at a point where he can't create his own shot anymore. So that's fine. He can finish. He can still have some utility, but expectation is the answer there.
I'm going to turn into the Joker if I see one more Steph Curry fall away wrister from inside the blue line.
Someone needs to tell him to stop shooting the puck from 55 feet.
Hey, let the best goalie in the world right now feel it a little bit.
Just
let him feel it.
But he can't find an open teammate, and someone's going to catch him.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Cut back. Put it in the corner. Give your team a chance to play offense and get a better shot. You don't score in the NHL from wristers from the top of the circles anymore, unless you're Trent Frederick. I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, but you don't typically score. Valley talked about the rarity of that, and Tavares continues to go to that well.
The thought of what to do with that blue line now, I assume that Liljegren's going back in.
You have assumed correctly.
At the end of the day, you say what you will about him. you need some skill back
Well,
there.
the team hasn't produced any offense, so give yourself the best chance. That's why they kept Robertson in last game.
I don't think TJ was undeniable on Saturday night. So.
No.
Well, it's just he's just lost. I don't know what he's lost. Maybe it's just father time catching up to him. How old is he? 33? Maybe it's ending a little early for him here.
Yeah, certainly looks like
right?
He's 34
But
next month.
It does not look like he's fully engaged. Watch the first goal by Boston Saturday night, and I know Reeves threw up a pizza, but go watch
Heinen's holding the stick, right?
get in behind TJ Brody. Like, it's a dump in, and he gets to dictate first on the puck, on where the puck's going or where the flow's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And TJ can't get there first. And he certainly can't battle.
Yeah, it was nice of Boston for JVR to score that one. It's a nice little twist of the knife. and Samsonov coming flying out like he's Gump Worsley there. I don't know what the hell that was. Jesus.
Once upon a time,
I didn't think that turnover was as bad as everyone said it was. I thought it was a bad bounce.
He just tried to hack at
but
it.
it was a bad bounce because Boston D came crashing down and took it away.
For sure. He didn't have the wall like there. He had to make a rush. He tried to chop at it, got a bad bounce. Brody's got a stick held by Heinen. Maybe he should drop his stick and dive out there. I don't know. But it was unfortunate more than like a mental error or speed thing or something like that.
So I love that forehand backhand through the legs move. Love it. Once upon a time when I was scoring a ton of goals in junior, I love doing it.
Mm-hmm. You did through the legs in junior?
Five hole.
Oh,
the goalie's
I thought you were talking about low rye.
Forehand, backhand through the goalie's 5-hole.
Oh, through those legs.
Yeah.
I just never tried it like 12 feet out from the goalie.
I've never seen anyone try it, and then it went in short side. It was just the whole thing.
He
was
almost
a
missed on the short side.
That's what I mean. Like, it was a very bizarre play, which is a fitting way for them to score that goal.
Backhand, forehand.
So
the other one I didn't like was the Marchand one-timer. To come out on Charlie McAvoy, he commits.
Yeah.
He goes down on his knees, and you have no chance.
No. And then the third one, like you're looking for a save. You need at some point to make a big save. And he hasn't given it to him in the series, which is why it's got to be Wool on Tuesday night, and hope it's the start of a fairy tale story where once we went to Wool, da-da-da-da-da-da.
God, wouldn't that be great?
I'm not convinced they're going to go to Joseph Woll.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. And it stems from why didn't they prep him more when he came back?
No, they
Explain that to me.
I think that's out the window.
But
I
why?
think we're in
But why?
desperation mode. Why didn't they?
Yeah.
Because I don't know
Because-
why. It's a great question.
I think
I'm
it's
on your team here.
I think it's because they thought maybe it was too overwhelming for him that they listen. Joseph Woll is their future. Whether
Well,
or not
if you don't put him in Tuesday.
whether or not he plays Tuesday or not, this guy is their future number one goalie. I think there's a part of him that they were scared to put too much heat on him, on his shoulders when he came back.
What about the Bruins starts then? They give him the back-to-back Bruins starts.
Yeah, and when it faltered,
Yeah.
then that's when they made the decision that he might not be ready for this, so protect him.
There
Now,
are
do you-
some decisions they've made.
Do you throw the protection out the window by putting him into game 5?
Well, do you think he's a good goalie or not? Like, you got to play. There's all this time and protecting the egos and fragile.
I'm not
Play
here
the
to.
damn game.
I'm not here to disagree. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves a little bit on maybe why they did not go to him. And we all sat here and said,
I fought for
it
Wolf
should be
until the end. Finally said, fine.
2-horse race here. Who's playing best? Who's hot at the right time?
Yeah.
We still saw that window of Joseph Woll prior to getting the high ankle sprain that he was lights out.
He was far and away the team's starting goaltender. And then Samsonov had a good run. Almost got it back to an 890 something at one point. It was pretty good.
Can I say that I feel stupid after he went in the net in the third period I'm like, yeah, he's just better. It's just like, he had bad stats down the stretch and he had bad games coming off the injury. But I'm just like, oh, yeah, the guy, I immediately feel 10 times better having him in the net. Straight up. And, I know Samsonov had a good bounce back or whatever. But, Wall probably should have been playing a little earlier.
I just, to Sam's point about desperation and looking for a turning point, and Samsonov hasn't done enough for me where you say, he's been so good, we just have to give him another crack at this. He's not been that guy. So anyway, I'm on Team Wall here. We'll see if the team agrees or
I'd
not.
probably go to Joseph Wall too.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Your job is on the line, which
Probably is for some people.
Who are you going to?
Yeah, I'm going to Wall.
Kyper?
I don't know. Sometimes there's a stubbornness with certain people that if they're going to go down, they want to go down their way. But
the way they talked about him, the way they were playing him the first half of the season before he got hurt, they wanted Wall to be the guy.
Think about the investment that you put in to Samsonov. The whole thing.
They're years into Wall.
Start.
He's been in the organization for years.
Yeah. I just wish they would have prepped him a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Before we get to break, there's a couple comments from Keefe at the press conference that made people mad. Would you like to hear the comments that made people mad?
Yeah.
One is, let's start with clip 2 and can't question the effort.
Nothing wrong with our effort level here tonight. Guys are competing. It's physical hockey. Guys are trying. It's a good team over there. It's limiting us. You can question a lot of things. You can't question the effort.
What? No
and
way.
And then let's try clip 7, series closer than it appears.
This series and these games that we've been in, they're far closer than it may appear. And we need little things to shift over into our favor, starting with special teams, whether we're one finish chance away or one extra save away, to shifting that over into our favor. We won one game in the series. It's the game in which we scored a power play goal at an important time. We got a penalty kill at a very important time in that game. That we need something like that to shift to our favor, and then it's just one less mistake and one more positive puck going the other way.
So clearly,
we haven't talked about special teams yet.
I mean, that's amazing.
What I said moments ago is that sometimes if you're going to go down, you want to go down your way. Mm-hmm. Clearly, he will go down supporting these guys and being that guy that says, I still believe in you. He will not. Look at Cooper prior to their Game 5 win. 2-time Stanley Cup champs with future Hall of Famers. And he's going, don't come to the rink if you don't believe.
Yeah.
And let's see who shows up.
Yeah.
That's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion.
Sure is.
He didn't say, I believe in these guys. He said he just left it right where it is.
Yeah. I mean, Sheldon, you might have 1 or 2 left here. Maybe take a shot.
Yeah, I see. I've heard you say that a few times, and it's just not the way he views this as them. I think he thinks the best way to get the most out of his guys, and he, like I said to you, forever, he coaches to win every hockey game. There's very little long-term planning.
Who doesn't, JB? Please.
Well, listen, you're the guy.
Everybody coaches to win.
No, all the time you're telling me about this accountability and how you scratch guys today and it'll pay off later and the long-term planning and you set the culture.
Nothing's paid off for him. Nothing's paid off for him up until this point.
It's a good plan, but I'm saying he's less likely to do the long game and he wants to win the next game.
Boys, we're arguing into the bumper. We got to do national hour now. We're gonna do.
Jay Woodcroft's going to join us. Former head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think he's done too much, so we're real happy he's joining us before heading overseas for the World Championships. He'll be one of the coaches for Team Canada. Let's ask him if Sid's going with him next. Jay Woodcroft on our National Hour when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Let's get her going on our National Hour. It's the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We are live on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by Jay Woodcroft, former head coach of the Edmonton Oilers and now part of Team Canada and their coaching staff for the upcoming World Championship. You good, Sammy?
Sammy's favorite tournament of the year.
Say my comments.
Just loves a good World
Oh,
Championship.
yeah. Give me Bedard and Crosby together, boys.
We'll get a ton in with Jay, including what his thoughts are on his former team, Edmonton, with their impressive 1-0 score. Did we ever envision Edmonton winning a game like that?
No is the answer. That was not the way we saw it going with them. I saw an Oiler fan tweet, congrats to the Oilers for killing that 58-minute power play that the Kings appeared to.
Yeah, well, how many shots they end up with? They had like nothing.
13, I think, yeah.
That, to me, showed me a lot. Like, it's just like,
do it a different way.
If they can play, they can do the up-tempo, they can do that. Like, that, to me,
it's a good sign.
Scary team.
Yeah, when you start finding different ways to win that don't include
Give it to McDavid.
McDavid needing to carry everything with Draisaitl, that's a really good sign.
It is funny. We just did the Leafs Hour, who have 1 goal on 17 power plays or something to that effect. I think McDavid has 8 power play points.
It's 1 for 14.
One
is
for
the
14,
number.
okay.
Yeah.
The other good sign, I think, for Vancouver fans is that it ain't over until it's over.
Oh, yeah.
That was one heck of a last few minutes to watch.
What a push. What a game by Brock Besser. Quinn Hughes absolutely juked someone out of their jockstrap.
It was Nyquist. There was actually like the video of it. He goes down the boards, goes by him, and Gus Nyquist is gone. He's like out of the picture. Like he's not even back in the frame.
Not to make Leaf fans feel bad or Sammy.
Yeah, okay, great.
But that's how you get a fan base to really get excited.
What happened last year with the Leafs when Ryan O'Reilly ties it late against Tampa? They win an OT.
They have a moment.
They have the 4-1 comeback in Tampa where Kerfoot scores in overtime.
This is the whole thing being a fan. If you get a moment like that per year, it's worth being a fan.
Oh, it's the best. It's actually, boys, this is really sad. Sorry to our national audience. A year ago this evening, John Tavares slipped one by Andre Vasilevsky to give the Leafs their first series win since 2004.
What a moment for Canucks fans who didn't think they'd have one this soon. I don't think.
And it was like, you think Quinn Hughes could disappear on any other shift, based on a bad shoulder, getting hammered. And then to Sammy's point, what an amazing, less than a minute, he's got the puck in his own zone. He's absorbing everything. He's sorting everything out. And he makes just a brilliant play to start the whole thing.
I mean, and how about the different visuals in that game where you have Pettersson getting bowled over in a goal celebration where he's like kind of in the way and they body him down to the ground and they're all dejected. I watched the third period of that game. I was like, this is hopeless. There's no way. And then bang,
Pettersson
bang,
looked like he might quit.
I know.
At one point, he was like, he looked like he didn't want to be there.
I know. I'm like, you see all the videos of people reacting to those big goals and, it's like the Vancouver-Toronto rivalry is real, but got to be happy for them out there.
Absolutely.
Good on him.
That was great.
All right, let's welcome him in. Jay Woodcroft, former head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, now jumping on a plane fairly soon. Jay, how are you? Thanks for joining us. I know, we haven't, seen you around too often, so getting you on our show is a nice treat for us. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a real pleasure, and like you mentioned there, Nick, about to go overseas here pretty soon, and so you caught me at a good time.
So just give us a bit of a background. When did it all come together for you? And, just what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, it probably happened about 10 days ago or so. I was approached by the general manager of our men's national team, Rick Nash, and then also talked to Andre Tournier, the head coach of the team. And they asked if I'd be interested in going over to Prague and trying to win another gold medal. And, I've only done this one other time before in 2015. We had an excellent group that was fortunate to win the gold medal that year. Ironically, it was in Prague. So when I was presented with that opportunity and listening to Rick Nash and Andre Tournier, I accepted, and I'm really excited about it.
Jay, you've been coaching at the, at the pro level for some 20 years now, and this was probably your first time having a stretch of hockey where you weren't on a bench. How was it? How was your experience this year, and how eager are you to get back at it here?
Well, you're exactly right. I got some great advice from some mentors around the league that I've worked with, and some that I didn't work with. And they said, you've been doing this for 20 years straight, going 100 miles an hour. It's okay to take a deep breath and spend some quality family time. And that's something that I really dug into. I got a fantastic wife, 2 great kids. Spent a lot of time, but right around the month of January when the calendar flipped, I was eager to flex some hockey muscles and, just eager to be around the game a little bit more. And I spent the month of February over in Europe and was able to be around 2 quality organizations in 2 different countries. Was welcomed in by 2 different coaching staffs at different points of their year. It just met some really good people, some really good hockey people, picked up a few things here and there. And, I'm going to certainly bring some of it in to my next opportunity, wherever and whenever that might be.
We're talking to Jay Woodcroft, former head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, now part of Team Canada's coaching staff for the upcoming World Hockey Championships. So just touching on that experience, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were behind a coaching bench, coaching Stevie Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, and you're in your mid-40s here. Is good time to reflect on the experience that you've had. And it's not like you're 65 here, It's quite remarkable, a guy your age right now, who still, in my opinion, would be one of the younger guys to go behind a bench again, but thinking about what you've experienced up until this point.
Yeah, what a fortunate person I am, because I've had not only raised by great parents and in a great family, but also, when I started my coaching career, I was worked for 3 proud organizations in the Detroit Red Wings, San Jose Sharks, and Edmonton Oilers. And, I had the opportunity to work under some really good coaches. I've built a lot of really good relationships over those 20 years. And, like you said, I would consider myself a young 47, but to have the experiences that I've had and been behind the bench as long as I've been and worked with the quality of people and the quality of players that I've been able to work with, I consider myself very fortunate. And like I said, I'm looking forward to bringing that with me here as the Canadian men's national team heads over to Prague, but certainly in my next opportunity as well.
So with all your experience, I'd love to get your take on the difference in regular season and playoffs. Just watching some great offensive teams, Vancouver Canucks, could produce all year long. I think they had 12 shots in their last win. The Oilers had 13 in a 1-0 win the other day. And here in Toronto, they just can't get to the net and score a goal. So, what is that fundamental difference? Is it simply better teams, different styles? What do you chalk it up to?
Well, I think when Game 83 gets played, there's a certain type of hockey that you start seeing, and certainly time and space is at a premium. The ability to get pucks through to the net is at a premium. And I think, it's a fabulous playoffs this year. It's very exciting. For me, I think the key is trying to find ways to win games. And that's the most important thing. And finding different ways to win hockey games, regardless of the amount of shots on net. And I think that's what you use an 82 game schedule to do. It's to set yourself up to find ways to build a game when everything might not be going, to your liking. And for me, like I said, I've been really impressed with the quality of play in this year's playoffs.
Pretty good example, 1-0, your former team, the Edmonton Oilers. What have you seen out of them down the stretch and early in these playoffs?
Well, I haven't watched much of the Edmonton Oilers since I was let go there in November. It was a choice I made that, I spent more time studying the league and studying trends that are occurring during the league. For me, I've spent a lot of time during this playoffs watching the Eastern Conference. And like I said, I've been very impressed, specifically with the competition level in some of these series, how hard these teams are playing, the physicality, and not just fisticuff physicality, but the willingness to take a hit to make a play, the willingness to get to hard areas on the ice, the willingness of certain teams to play on the inside. It's quite evident to me to see how the teams that are going to move on, the reason why they're moving on.
So, well, how do you feel about the best way to get underachieving stars going at times? We talked about John Cooper was saying to his guys when they fell down the series, if you don't think we can get it done, don't show up. Sheldon Keefe taking a different tact and saying, I actually like our game and trust that our guys are going to be okay. What are your thoughts on sort of the best way to handle these things?
Well, I think there's different approaches. The big thing for me would be to try and take the pressure off that individual player or off the team in general. I think for teams that have their back up against the wall, those teams, I think, just need to focus on trying to win one game. I know that in certain sticky circumstances in Edmonton over the last few playoff runs, and we were fortunate to play a lot of playoff games over the last 2 playoff runs. In sticky circumstances, we reminded our players that we had to take care of the day's business, take care of what was immediately in front of us. And I think when you narrow the focus of a player or a team, it allows you to get the best out of them. And so for me, if I had any advice to those teams that with their back up against the wall, so to speak, it would be to focus just on winning one game.
Hey, Jay, when we see how tight checking it is, and some stars can overcome it, some have a more difficult time, but how important is it to have a different layer coming from the back end? And last night we saw the very best in the world in Cale Makar, and just that support group and the depth that he allows the forwards. But how important is that to have a guy like that to go deep in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Very important. I know in my first playoff run here in Edmonton, we got to the conference final, and I saw firsthand just how effective Cale Makar is. What a hockey player. He's a one-man breakout. And certainly I think when you activate defensemen in all 3 zones, you get them up and involved in the play, it makes you that much more of a difficult team to defend. But I think in general, today's game is about being connected 5 men in activating 5 people. To me, they're hockey players, and not just tethered by being called a defenseman. And you can see certain teams that have those weapons are having some success here in this playoff run. The other thing I would say is that at this time of year, the teams that are having success are the ones that are fighting for space out there, because space is at such a premium. The teams that fight for space instead of looking for space, those are the ones that I think you see move on. We were talking earlier about game 83. To me, when the playoffs begin, what happens in the league is that you've chopped off 16 teams. You've narrowed how good the league is, and it got better on that day. Well, pretty soon the first round of the playoffs is going to be over, and the league is going to get better. And that's what happens as you march your way into a Stanley Cup final. And I think the teams that have success, like I said, are the ones that fight for space, not just look for space.
So, Jay, you started off as a video coach, I believe, which is a very noble profession, I'm told, in 2005. And I imagine the evolution in how games are covered and prepared for has changed drastically over time. Tell us about what you've seen in the different ways that you prepare for an opponent in a playoff series than you were able to then.
Well, I'll tell you what, at that time, I began right after the full season lockout. And there was a huge change in the technology at that time. Most teams, before I began working, most teams only had one computer for an entire coaching staff, or a Pinnacle machine, it was called. And that's how games were cut up. And there was a lot of VHS, and then eventually it went to DVD. But when I started to work, we were one of the first teams to adopt a computer for each coach on the staff. And I can tell you this, you're right. It is a noble profession. Those are some of the most unsung heroes in an organization because they work extremely hard. But for me as a young guy, I think I was 28 years old at the time, to get my foot in the door in an entry-level position, learn from the quality of coaches that I was learning from. Again, I am going to use the word fortunate. I was very fortunate. And I think that understanding of how technology works and that how information is shared on a cohesive and coherent coaching staff, that helped me as I moved up the ladder and became, a third assistant, and then a second assistant, then a lead assistant, and eventually my own head coach. I think the better you understand that, the faster you're able to work, and you eliminate a lot of the hiccups that some teams or some staffs have with technology by having that understanding.
So, Jay, that back then it was strictly the eye test, right? The optics of what you saw on video. But today you add to that the analytics, what the numbers are telling you. So as a coach today, how do you decipher what is more important here, the eye test or the numbers or what your gut is telling you?
Well, I think all of those are important. And I think, the new in vogue term is analytics and stuff like that. And I was fortunate to work with some of those teams that are so-called analytic darlings, the ones that are held up as some of the best teams ever. And, they did this and they did that. And I can tell you at the time, we didn't talk a lot about the term analytics. We just talked about it as doing our work. We put a lot of focus on the tactics that led to those numbers, not the numbers in and of themselves. That said, I'm, up to date with the times. I spend a lot of time thinking about ways to improve. I think analytics are part of today's game. I don't think they're the only part of today's game. I think there has to be room for things that you can't measure. For example, Nick, when you played, if someone gave you a shot off a face-off, how do you respond to that? That doesn't show up in a number analytically, but that has an effect in the way the game is played. I do believe there's room for things that you can't measure, but I think today's coaches, you're dealing with a lot of different types of information: video, eye test, analytics, human intelligence. There's lots of things that you have to deal with. I think the best ones are ones that can work through that puzzle and put the pieces together. And I know that I get a lot of really good information from analytics. I'm not afraid of them. In fact, I look forward to seeing some of the information come my way, but it's not the only thing behind the decisions I make.
So with all those things, you can kind of work through them, right? It's a little piece of the analytics, and you watch a video and you talk about your systems. When you're talking about goaltending as a head coach, you just kind of go, I don't know. You just hand it off to some other guy in the staff and hope he knows what he's doing a little bit. Is there a bit of helplessness that comes with relying so heavily on a guy that doesn't really fall under your purview?
Yeah, certainly. They should have their own category for sure. And, most staffs have great goaltending coaches and a goaltending department that deals with that type of thing. But I know for me as a head coach, I kind of deferred on that with the goalie department and some of what was going on down there.
So have you had a chance to see the roster yet in terms of your Team Canada? Who are you looking forward to working with the most here?
Well, this past week, I spent the last few days in Arizona as a staff. It was great. It was a great get-together. Andre Tournier had everybody on the coaching staff, a couple members of the Hockey Canada offices, and Kyle Dubas as well was there. He's part of the management staff for the team as well. And we spent some time talking about the way we wanted to play. We went over the roster. We went over the minutia details that go with a training camp and then the tournament itself. And I think it was a really good experience because what it did, it sets us up to hit the ground running when we land in Europe. There's no getting to know you phase. I thought it was really well done. And, certainly we talked about the roster. I think as what happens most years in preparation for the World Championships, when playoff series ends, sometimes piecemeal players get added to the roster and whatnot. So I don't think it's a fully formed team just yet. I would reserve my opinion until we have a little bit of more clarity on exactly who will be there. But I know some of the names that were bandied about are really exciting. And I know that all of the people involved are looking forward to putting a great effort in so that we can represent our country proudly.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Before I let you go, I just want to note there was another firing today in the NHL in Seattle. A head coaching spot opened up. Might be one in New Jersey. What do you prefer? You want the West Coast? You want the East Coast? We're a powerful show here, Jay. We can get you anywhere you want to go. People listen to this show.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. What a crazy business we're in, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was reading something, 16, 17 coaches in the last year or so. But, I mean, we're all big boys. We know what we sign up for. And it's just part of what we do. So certainly for me, I'm anxious to have good conversations with people that look to talk to me. But right now, my focus and concentration is on helping our country win a gold medal over in Prague.
And good luck to you for that, Jay. We so appreciate your time, man. Wish you all the best, okay?
Thanks, guys. Have a great show.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
Jay Woodcroft. Yeah, quite remarkable for him to be in the business that long and barely 47 years of age.
Yeah, 05 was his first year with Detroit. He was a video coach. Had a ton of time with San Jose, Edmonton, Bakersfield, Edmonton as a head coach. Oh, yeah.
Joe Thornton behind the bench.
San Jose Sharks teams. Like, he's seen a lot for a guy who's just 47 years old.
Did you catch that, what he just said?
I mean, I listened.
16,
which part?
The 16 or 17 coaches change in the last year and change.
10 just this season.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't another sport that comes close to that many coaching changes over a little over a year. That's crazy to me.
It is nuts.
Soccer.
Is that frequent in soccer?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Guys lose their jobs every week in soccer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like that.
Sheldon Keefe, four guys have been
never
coaching
in the
longer
NHL
than Sheldon.
like this, ever.
I can't remember a year like
Not
this.
close. Have we ever seen anything
But we know the reason.
like that?
We've talked about it a million times on the show. Can't trade anybody because there's the cap.
Yeah.
It's like, well, guess we're firing the coach.
Cooper, Mike Sullivan, Jared Bednar, Rod Brindamore, and Sheldon Keefe are the longest tenured coaches. And Sheldon Keefe was hired 4 years ago. You know, it's pretty crazy.
A loss tomorrow night, and there'll be another one.
4.5.
Right? There'll be another opening.
I think quite likely.
Although
Sheldon hasn't started his extension yet.
Jay should have a fun time working with Marner at the World Championship.
Who else hasn't started their extension yet that got fired?
Four other.
Lindy Ruff?
Yeah. Hackstall today.
Hackstall.
Kings.
McClellan.
And Granato.
Yeah, none of them had started their next
nuts.
contract. And Sutter just got fired with the extension.
You're right, Sammy. That's just that's an owner just going, I got to do something.
Well, yeah, and to their credit, they care enough to pay millions of dollars to someone to not coach in hopes of winning a few more games.
To stay home.
To stay home. Unless these guys get new jobs, in which case someone takes that contract off their hands, which they like a lot, I'm told. Actually, you know what's funniest about the longest tenured coaches? This is remarkable. After Sheldon Keefe, the sixth longest tenured is Martin St. Louis.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is 3 years fewer time, 2.5 years fewer time than Sheldon, according to this. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, Bruce Cassidy was just after him. Torch just after him. Yeah. So Martin St. Louis, only 5 guys been coaching longer with their team than
That
him.
is unbelievable.
That's just, again, goofy.
You didn't have time to set a culture, do you?
No.
2 minutes. Next.
Game time?
Game time.
Yeah.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, I was looking at the series, the series scores here. I just lost it. If you want to bet, Hold on. Let's just look at the games for tonight. I lost what I had.
Follow the arrows, Sammy.
No, it's a little bit complicated. I lost what I had. So we'll just go to the games for tonight. When I first looked at this, the Tampa Bay Lightning were plus 155, and they've gone all the way up to plus 165 tonight. Vegas and Bet365 is thinking that tonight is the night that the Florida Panthers advance. Minus 200, the Florida Panthers on home ice tonight. Yeah.
That's, I would say, of all the playoff odds we've heard, that might be the wrongest. So go ahead and give Tampa a click there.
And now I've picked back up what I wanted to look at. The when will series end bets. So here we've been talking about Toronto for the full first hour, and I'll bring it back into the national hour here in the betting segment. They have Game 5 as a minus 165 favorite to finish. Yeah, the Leafs.
Minus 165, okay.
So you're just basically betting on the Bruins.
Yeah.
Game 6 is plus 375, and then Game 7 is plus 300. So Vegas thinks, Bet365 thinks, that if the Leafs happen to find a way to win in Boston, potentially without Austin Matthews, that they will win Game 6 and get it to Game 7. So that's what they're leaning.
So you're going to protect your emotional status by betting for the Bruins, right?
Sammy's already been.
No, I did it once. I'm not going to do it again.
No.
I like, if they surprise me, great. Like, I really, I'm not heartbroken enough to do it.
I have heard the running kind of funny jokes about the Leafs that, like, just losing in, like, on Tuesday night would not be nearly painful enough for Leafs fans. So the hockey gods have to build the hope back before they pull the rug out. So I could see the Leafs winning a game
and
or two.
Just to check in on the Stanley Cup favorites to this point, the Edmonton Oilers are 4-1 right now as the favorite. The Carolina Hurricanes are plus 450. Florida's plus 550. And to me, if you want to get some really good value on a team that's already into the second round, the New York Rangers are 6-1. Loved how they looked in that first one.
They go up 2-0, and
plus they're
lost,
10-1.
but
10-1. Really good value there.
There's a good number for you,
right?
They did look. I bet you that game shook them a little bit.
Yes.
I thought Dallas looked excellent in that game.
Oh, they're up 3-0. They're the favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right, let's take a quick break because we got a ton of sound to come from Edmonton, Vancouver. We got to talk about Winnipeg and what's going on. We mentioned earlier in our Leaf Edition hour of Cale Makar, but it still didn't do justice on how good this guy is. And then we're going to pick up a little bit more on if Tampa Bay loses, what's John Cooper's future? Sound all right, Sammy? What are you laughing at?
What are you trying to get me all fired up over here?
You're just going to have to stick around. All right.
Yep.
All right, more and real Kyper and Bourne after these words. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Canucks win using their third different goalie.
Yeah. 3 goalies, 3 wins.
And they did it before, too. It's only been done like twice, I think.
Yeah, I have it.
Twice by Vancouver, right?
Hold on, let me pull it up here quickly. I have it.
Kluche?
Yeah, Kluche was involved. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling down here.
Alex Auld?
I'm looking here. I can't find it. But yeah, one of them was Vancouver.
And then I heard Chicago with Tony Esposito. And
so you knew it.
A couple other guys. I did read that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
very, very, very uncommon, to say the least.
No, put that in your game time, Sammy, and give me odds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the odds of getting a hole in one twice.
Yes. Svilovs is the 7th goalie in Canuck
How do you
history.
pronounce it? Can you
Shelovs. What did I say? Did I say Shelovs?
I
No.
don't know.
Okay.
Shelovs.
Okay. He's the 7th goalie in Canuck history to get a win in their first Stanley Cup playoff start. So
I think he
there you
had
go.
2 NHL games, maybe
Yeah.
9. Maybe he had 9. One of the 2 numbers.
Looks fine.
Let's call it 9.
I love this quote, my time to shine.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and he's not afraid to show a little flair on the couple of the catches. He may have given a little hulkier to the crowd on the winner.
If you're putting in
he
a
looked calm.
if you're putting in a
looked
guy,
fine for me.
if you're putting in a kid, you want that.
Yeah.
Like you don't want I'm scared. You want it's my time.
No,
That's
and
what
you
want.
do. And you also, there's a thing about young people, and in golf, and you hear it sometimes too, where it's like, I think you say maybe not smart enough, but it's maybe not experienced enough to recognize the gravity of the moment.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're young, you're just like, what are you
I'll
going
say
to
it.
lose?
Too dumb to know.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Okay.
All right, let's get Rick Tockett's thoughts on Brock Besser's tying goal.
All right.
Yeah, that's a pedigree of 40. He scored 40 goals, something plus goals this year. I've seen it happen all year. A goal scorer knows, that the passer next to where they know the right time to shoot it, or sometimes somebody will they'll just jam it. You see that goal? He didn't jam it. He waited, brought it back. I don't know how many seconds were left, but that's best, right? He's got a really good hockey IQ to score goals. His timing is really, really good.
6 seconds. Yeah, 6.
Yeah. Gus Nyquist still not recovered, by the way. He's still on the ice after his broken ankles from Quinn Hughes on that play.
It's such a crazy game that you could think of Brock Besser just a year and a half ago as an anchor contract and can't trade him, get your agent to call teams, see if you can make your own trade. And now he's just...
Nobody wants that distressed asset.
As valuable as anything out there right now.
It's a play he makes, like he said, Talk said, to not just like he gets it behind the net, takes a second, brings it out, jams it home. Like it's good patience.
It's awesome.
And it is the ability though. And sometimes these guys are not like great skaters. He's not a great skater.
No.
But Tyler Toffoli's another one
Great
to me
example.
where it's when you know where to be at the right place at the right time, and then you're able, once you have the puck, once you're able to kind of slow the game down in your mind, there's some guys, it's just like, it's a grenade. It's blowing up because they cannot calm themselves down and really have a feel for space and timing.
Yeah.
Brock Besser, ice in his veins to pull it back off the goal line, 3 feet off the goal line.
He's got a great release in general when he has time, but you're right. To have the sense for, where to be. And that's the biggest thing is some guys, it finds them. And it's like, boy, that guy gets a lot of luck. It just comes to him. And it's like, oh, wait, over a career, you start to figure out that guy's just kind of knows where to be. This Canucks team, they get a huge game at the right time from Elias Lindholm. And you can't help but think that this team, they showed belief in this team early with the trade to get Lindholm.
Yeah.
We do our Leafs piece and you don't get that deal where the GM says, I really believe in this team.
Well, that was Bertuzzi was supposed to be Lindholm, right? Like you can have
preseason.
You can have a mediocre regular season. All is forgiven. Just get it hot in the right place at the right time. Make a big play.
Sure, and that's a different
plays.
story than the team in season going, we're going good. We believe in this team. And that, to me, Lindholm is that, that boost. And maybe you didn't love how it went for him in Vancouver, but he gets you a playoff win. Yeah. You probably don't win the game without him. And that could be enough to win the series. Not 2-2, it's 3-1. You're going home. All of a sudden, it feels like you're going to get a series win out of that trade.
Massive swing. Like
Aquilini liked it. Yes, I liked what happened there.
You can't, there are a few, to have a 2-goal comeback in the last, 2 minutes, to not have the series go 2-2 going home, to have it go home 3-1. That is such a massive swing. And boys, we're going to get to Edmonton here in a second, but we got a Canadian collision course here between the Canucks and Edmonton Oilers. That's as good as it gets.
That'd be awesome. Canucks 71 shots on goal versus the Predators are the fewest in NHL history through the first 4 games of an opening round playoff series, and they're up 3-1. Yeah. Pretty wild. Pretty wild, this sport.
Crazy game.
Stupid sport.
Crazy game. Okay, speaking of
so dumb.
Speaking of goaltending, Skinner with his first Stanley Cup playoff shutout. Let's go to defenseman Ekholm on what he thinks of Skinner.
Obviously, early on, it was back and forth, but as soon as he gripped onto it and kind of realized, okay, I'm the guy, he's just been running with it all year. He's been great for us. I think he's showing it game in and game out, and as any goaltender, they're going to have an off night, but I think his biggest strength is the way he rebounds after those nights, and that's, in my opinion, a sign of a really, really good goaltender. You can't always control 82 games in playoffs and be on the top of your game every night, but you can always control how you rebound and how you respond to those games, and I think that's a strength of his.
To me, I love listening to a guy with a real thoughtful answer. He doesn't mail it in, right? He's giving
the commentary or the goalie?
No, the commentary on the goalie.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's important that he articulates the way he feels, because somehow, some way, it's reassuring for either the fan base, the media, and more importantly, Skinner. Those words go back to Skinner. And it just, again, reinforces
Ekholm is a stud.
Yeah,
he's a beast.
But he reminds me of, like, Kevin Lowe was that guy for us, like what I heard from Ekholm. And, like, of course, it's McDavid's team and Draisaitl's team, like it was Mark Messier's team and Brian Leach. But when an Ekholm talked, or Kevin Lowe talked back then, it had a rippling effect as much as the big boys did, or even more.
Well, and, you know, I think this is reflected in the way I voted for one of my awards this year with Ekholm, who I really like. But I don't think that people know how much more value you get than just the individual player when they make other people better. And what he's done for Bouchard this year has made Bouchard, allowed Bouchard to take a step that I don't know that he would take if he spends the year with Cody Ceci or someone else. No disrespect to anyone, just to pick a random name. But, like, I don't think he's able to become the fully realized version of himself that he was this year, Bouchard. And now doing the same for Skinner and trying to, you know, elevate him. That to me is like, one guy is not just the value of one guy. It's that plus the value he gets more out of the other guys.
Lowe has a few cups, doesn't he?
Sorry?
Lowe has a few cups?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowe's won a couple times.
How many? 6?
6 Stanley Cups.
I think Kevin or Ken Holland kind of takes his lumps a little bit over the years for some, you know, decisions, including, you know, the Jack Campbell contract or a couple other things. I think he absolutely stole Ekholm.
I don't remember what the deal was. What went the other way?
I don't know. But, like, this to me was the defenseman that probably 6 other teams should have paid a higher price for.
It was Reed Schaefer, Tyson Barrie, and a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick.
All day long. All day long.
And that first-round pick was last year Tanner Moldendick.
Yeah, I'm not a...
And who else?
He had a good year in Saskatoon.
Okay, good.
Yep, still playing.
He's heart and soul guy.
Yeah, he is for sure. He's a big part of it. You know, last night, it is... does it change your feeling about the Oilers' Stanley Cup chances, seeing them kind of, you know, get outshot but still hang on, get some goaltending?
Yeah, I think... listen, if you can find different ways to win a few more games like that, how do you not like their chances? But
you have a game where Evander Kane looks good. You have a game where goalie looks good.
We'll see how that blue line still holds up in the big picture for me.
I do think the Kings are not that good.
And Skinner too, right? If Skinner can hold his own, you got to think that they've got a decent shot of a Stanley Cup final. But
there's definitely some.
You got to.
The Kings ain't great.
Not great.
You're going to beat Dallas or Vegas, right? To get there.
I mean, Colorado's pretty good right now.
Yeah, they're humming along.
Are you rating off the Jets right now?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they're down 3-1.
Yeah.
If I wrote out the Leafs,
the last 3 straight first rounds have seen a team come back from down 3-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Very exciting.
It's doable.
Well, they're running out of time, but let's see what Rick Bowness has to say, head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, on facing elimination.
The problems are self-inflicted. You want to take penalties. You want to play a three-quarter ice game, you're playing right into their hands. So our issues are self-inflicted. You saw us play the right way for 10 minutes in the second half of that first period. And then you play, and then, you take 4 penalties. You turn the puck over. That's exactly how they want to play. So the issues are self-inflicted.
Is this just like no answer for Makar?
I mean, that goal is tough to not watch on repeat. Just the way he's able to cut through the neutral zone. Yeah, he makes a big difference in that. I would say that's a pretty pivotal point there for the Jets to contend with. But the biggest thing is this Jets team is supposed to be, they're supposed to be what the Boston Bruins have been so far in playoffs. Pack it in, defend, great depth all the way through, and get great goaltending. And, Hellebuck hasn't given them great goaltending yet. You can't. They were never going to win if he wasn't going to give him great goaltending.
No Swayman right now.
No. And you just need him to be. So it's fingers crossed. And
Kyle McCarr's got 8 points in 4 games. He's just dominating.
Yeah.
Like, and every time he plays half the game, right? It's like
a playoff monster. He won the Conn Smythe, didn't he, 2 years ago? Or was it him or McKinnon?
I can't remember, but it was one of those two. You just can't. You get no reprieve from him when you watch those games. He is just like, he's undeniable. He has the puck the whole time he's on the ice.
Can you make a goalie change?
He did win it.
Can you go to Brossoit?
No. I mean, Brossoit has been good.
Well, they put him in the game, but they can't.
No, I'm talking about starting. Can you?
I don't know.
I think
he was good.
But you're too heavily built around one plan, right? Which is you got to start by getting Vezina caliber goaltending. And I don't think, but you're not going to get it from Brossoit.
Change it up? I don't know.
I think that's a decision.
It's going to get
he's there 8 years.
Yeah, you
got
to
be a long,
show him the loyalty.
They go out. Winnipeg goes out with Hellebuck giving up another 3 or 4 goals. This is going to be a long summer for him.
But to Sammy's point, he just signed an 8-year contract there. I know. You have longer summer if you put him on the bench to watch, I think.
I don't know if you know the numbers, what they actually look like.
Go ahead with them.
4 games, 522, 870.
No, it's not good.
Probably not good.
No, they're
probably not going to get it done.
Yeah, you got to go down with.
Yeah,
go down with the ship.
Go down with the ship. Okay, no real surprises. New York Rangers sweeping Washington.
I saw
Ovi. Did he have a shot on goal?
Not in the last game, no. Not
0
in the first game either. 0 points.
Did he have one in the series?
He had a couple shots in the series. I think
right,
4 or 5 total.
Not that we expected Washington. Like, we needed Daryl Sutter's pretty much 8 days.
8 days. I saw someone tweet that the Detroit Red Wings, between playoffs and regular season, they won 41 games and the Capitals won 40 total.
Listen, just the mere fact that they got into the playoffs was an accomplishment. That team, that roster, their inability to score all season long, and like Lindgren was unbelievable.
They got to the deadline and they traded. They got rid of Kuznetsov and Edmondson and Mantha. They traded Mantha. They didn't try to make playoffs. They lost the least on the way home, and then
that's my favorite drop.
It is a very good one.
One more time.
We suck. There's so many people who are on me and you a little bit about. When I said the Caps weren't good, and people were like, yeah, what do you have to say now? They made the playoffs. I'm like, still a bad team.
Still suck.
Still a bad team.
We suck.
All right, let's get a comment out of head coach of the New York Rangers, Peter Laviolette.
Seemed like we had 6 days going into this first playoff game, and it was really good for our group. We were able to get some rest right off the bat because the schedule was every other day for a month. And it gave plenty of time to prepare, and then it gave time to actually work on things on the ice. And so there's a real value in that, where you can start to look at both opponents until you find out which one you're actually going to play. And so there's some value there, and I do think the rest is important. And then series that are not concluded yet that can possibly continue to go on. There might be value there, but there's probably a lot of fact and proof behind the fact that a team that's gone 7 and has to walk right out of a Game 7 overtime win and walk into the next series, they're right on point with their game, too.
I mean, they're going to get a decent little break here for the Rangers. and I like the way they look.
That helps them. The quick question on the Capitals, though, what are they going to do here? Like,
well, they got decent 24-year-olds. Like, there's some stuff that they can work with. Yeah, they're not stars, but they're
McMichael
Lapierre scored a nice goal.
Not to be this guy, but like everyone's got them.
Well,
maybe not those.
You know what we're going to do?
They're missing the stars.
You know what we're going to do?
What?
We're going to stand around and watch Ovi
shamelessly
blast them from the top of the
circle. Yes, correct.
That's what we're going to watch.
What's he need, 47?
No, I think last.
Yeah, it's like under
32, 35.
No. Oh, he needs.
What's he need?
I think it's.
It's got to be 40. He's not getting whatever the number is. It ain't happening next year.
You don't think so?
God, he got red hot to get to 30 this year. Red hot.
But he scored a ton of goals in a very short period of time.
He's got 853. What's the record? 94?
92?
Okay. No math on this show.
I think he's 39 short.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did that right.
He's going to be trying to shoot everything in sight.
Yeah. So that's what they and then he gets that and he retires, then you start.
Mm-hmm.
That's
okay.
Well, he actually doesn't retire. He goes and plays in Russia for
what would our show be without a John Cooper clip for tonight's game?
Deeper this series goes, everything amps up. So, we had the benefit of a lot of things happening early in the game, and our crowd is right into it. And I would anticipate same atmosphere here tonight. People get jacked up, and these crowds are into it. So it's a ton of fun to be a part of it. But players can feed off the emotion as well, whether you're the home or the away team. It's just different ways to feed off the crowd. And so, as the stakes get higher, the emotions will get higher. And I expect nothing different tonight.
I'm not here to start anything, but
start it. Fire it up.
There's some people wondering if Tampa loses, is this John Cooper's last game? And that's not to suggest.
Are those me? Are those people me?
No, it's not you.
Okay.
That's not to suggest that he's getting fired.
No.
But John Cooper, much like Sullivan in Pittsburgh, they're in a position now to reassess. Contracts or no contracts aside, those two guys are different from anyone else in the league where they get to go.
Listen.
They get to listen. They get to mutually discuss with their team, what are we doing? Where are we going? Do I want to be a part of this? Do I not? If not, maybe there's something else out there.
You wonder how that would work, right? Because if you think he's one of the best coaches in the league and you've got him under contract, like I know that Paul Maurice basically just said, I don't want to be here anymore. Or, I know that's a much more complicated explanation than that, but he left.
It's a show out there.
Paul left because he just knew it was
time.
It was just time. It was just time for him, and it was time for Winnipeg.
But if John feels like it's time for him with Tampa Bay, and I'm Tampa Bay, I'm like, wrong.
No,
it isn't time.
But if he feels like it's worn out, it would be.
We do not agree.
You're also factoring in. You get your future Hall of Famers. They're in the discussion too. Maybe a different voice here. Maybe how do you guys think? And
you're going to let him go coach the Leafs and
New Jersey.
Bring your secrets. New Jersey.
There'll be a few choices for John Cooper.
Good coach.
All right.
What an offseason we had. But let's stay with playoffs for a while first.
What a show, boys.
What a show.
Lots going on. Everything is happening.
We're back again tomorrow to do it all over again. Enjoy your games tonight. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your thoughts on JB and Sammy. I'm excluded from that.
That'll help with our rating. Do that.
All right. We're back tomorrow on The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody.